Then came mathematics turned into massacre on August 12th. The Great Mine explosion when Ottoman engineers packed a massive chamber with gunpowder beneath the Lewel bastion. The detonation opened hell's mouth. A section of wall simply vanished in fire and smoke and screaming stone. Defenders thrown 100 feet through the air. In the crater that smoking wound in Vienna's defenses, Janissaries poured through with sabers raised. Vienna's death seemed mathematically assured, but Starhemberg himself led the countercharge. The count who'd commanded from walls now fought in the breach with a sword in his hand. Citizens with pitchforks joined soldiers with military weapons in that crater-turned killing ground. Grandmothers fought beside grandsons. The breach became a meat grinder that consumed 1,000 lives in 1 hour of savage butchery. Somehow, impossibly. The defenders held, but barely, as Vienna bled from 1,000 wounds. Emperor Leopold's desperate appeals finally found receptive ears across Europe. The Polish parliament did the politically unthinkable, voted to send their army abroad to save a Catholic city. King Jan Sobieski, who'd spent his entire life fighting Ottomans on Poland's frontiers, recognized destiny's call when it thundered. Sobieski didn't just bring soldiers, he brought hope incarnate. 20,000 Polish warriors, including 3,000 winged hussars, the finest heavy cavalry on earth. A force that had never known defeat in living memory. David had found his sling and stones. German princes overcame centuries of blood hatred. Protestant and Catholic commanders who'd slaughtered each other's armies during the 30 Years' War now shook hands and pledged cooperation. The Duke of Lorraine brought 20,000. Bavarian contingents added 11,000. Saxony, Franconia, Swabia, ancient enemies united by greater existential threat. The mathematics began shifting from impossible to merely suicidal. The combined relief force reached 70,000, still outnumbered perhaps 3 to 1, but no longer facing impossible odds. September 11th became Vienna's final agony before salvation. The walls crumbled with 16 major breaches, gaping like mouths screaming for help. Ottoman artillery had fired 30,000 cannonballs, each one chipping away at hope. Defenders down to 3,000 effective fighters from original 15,000. The rest were dead, wounded beyond combat capability, or too sick to stand without support. Civilians filled the gaps with desperate courage. Bakers with halberds, merchants with rusty swords, women with pikes, children throwing stones at janissaries. Ottoman final assault preparations began with methodical precision. Kara Mustafa sensed victory's proximity after 60 days of siege. Janissary battalions massed for the killing blow. Siege towers rolled forward on massive wheels, scaling ladders stacked like timber. The Grand Vizier promised his troops 3 days of unrestricted plunder. Vienna would be erased as warning to all Christianity. But on September 11th, watchmen spotted movement on Kahlenberg Mountain that changed everything. Not Ottoman reinforcements, but Christian banners catching afternoon sun. But here's where Kara Mustafa's arrogance sealed his doom. He refused to believe a relief army would dare attack his mighty host. He interpreted warnings as defender tricks, psychological warfare from starving, desperate men, even as subordinate commanders begged to prepare defenses against this new threat. The Grand Vizier obsessively focused on Vienna's walls. Pride's arithmetic would prove fatal. Dawn, September 12th. 1683. History pivoted on 18,000 horsemen positioned on Kahlenberg's slopes. 70,000 Christians against 150,000 Ottomans still besieging Vienna. Imperial forces positioned on the left. German contingents holding center. Poles on the right wing. Each piece placed for maximum impact. Ottoman confusion crippled response fatally. Kara Mustafa divided between maintaining the siege and facing this new threat. Frozen by indecision, while his empire's fate balanced on minutes. By 4 p.m. on September 12th, the battlefield resembled organized chaos. Christians pressed from heights. Ottomans fought in separated pockets without coordination. Vienna's defenders watched from walls, praying, hoping, some preparing to sally forth for one last desperate effort. The moment balanced on a knife's edge, sharper than any blade. Then King Jan Sobieski gave the order that would echo through eternity and reshape continents. Sobieski raised his saber high, where all could see. 18,000 cavalry began forming the steel avalanche that would crush an empire. At the center, 3,000 winged hussars adjusted their legendary wings, not mere decorations, but psychological weapons, whose feathers would whistle in the charge. Death's anthem, approaching at 40 miles per hour. The mass of horsemen defied visual comprehension. 4 ranks deep, 2 miles wide. Sunlight turned their armor into flowing mercury. Lances lowered like a forest of steel trees. Horse breath misted in afternoon air. The ground began trembling before they even moved, physics announcing what was coming. The charge began with terrifying beauty. Walk. Trot. Canter. The winged hussars maintained perfect alignment despite rough terrain. Behind them, German heavy cavalry, Polish medium horse, light cavalry on flanks, an entire mounted army flowing downhill like an avalanche of flesh. Steel and determination that nothing could stop. Then, physics took over with mathematical certainty. Full gallop, the thunder started. 70,000 hooves striking earth in rhythm that shook Vienna's walls miles away. The whistling began, hussar wings creating an unearthly sound that Ottoman soldiers later swore was supernatural, screaming. Angels or demons descending from heaven to deliver judgment. Ottoman psychological break started before physical impact. Imagine standing in their position, the earth quaking beneath your feet, a wall of steel and horseflesh approaching at full gallop building to 40 miles per hour. The sound, thunder mixed with banshee wails that froze blood in veins. Impact at 40 miles per hour. The winged hussars hit Ottoman lines with the force of freight trains made of muscle and steel. Lances pierced multiple men, punching through armor and flesh and bone. Horses became battering rams that crushed skulls and rib cages. The first Ottoman ranks simply disappeared, crushed, pierced, trampled into red paste. The charge didn't stop. It punched through Ottoman lines like a spear through silk. Janissaries, those mountains of discipline, were swept away like children before tsunamis. The Ottoman center didn't break. It shattered into fleeing individuals. In 4 hours, 3 centuries of conquest turned to ash. 20,000 Ottoman dead littered the field. The rout surpassed comprehension. Vienna's garrison burst forth. Starving defenders found strength for one last effort. The besiegers became the besieged. Kara Mustafa fled, abandoning his golden tent and dreams of glory. 3 months later, on Christmas Day, the silk cord ended his life. 18,000 horsemen had proven that sometimes courage does weigh more than numbers, that genius can overcome mathematics. that one desperate charge can save civilization. Subscribe to Great History for more battles where impossible odds met unstoppable will and changed human history through blood, steel, and 60 days of refusing to surrender.